Well, hi, everyone. It's Chris Carter. I'm president of CALA, and I'd like to welcome you to the sixth and final session of CALA's Virtual Conference 2020. We're very pleased to be able to present today some information for you concerning CALA's new Purple Flag for Dementia Care program. I'm pleased to be joined today with Betty Brennan, who is principal at Astrum Care and a CALA board member, and Lisa Clark from McLean, Vice President at McLean. First, I'd like to share a couple of facts related to dementia for you. We know, among other things, the following. Alzheimer's is the 6th leading cause of death in the United States, unfortunately. More than 5 million Americans are presently living with Alzheimer's. 1 in 3 seniors, unfortunately, dies with Alzheimer's or other dementia. 16 million Americans provide unpaid care for people with Alzheimer's or other dementias. Lastly, between the years 2000 and 2018, deaths from heart disease have decreased 7.8%, while deaths from Alzheimer's have unfortunately increased by 146%. In terms of CALA's Purple Flag for Dementia Care program, I'll share with you now our purpose, mission, and objectives. The purpose of the Purple Flag for Dementia Care program is to create a vehicle for aging services providers to qualify for participation with an accreditation program and highly visible branding campaign that informs consumers and related constituencies of a provider's commitment to best practices. Our mission, the Purple Flag for Dementia Care program, is committed to enhancing care to persons who receive memory care from providers that choose to participate in providing continuous education and best practices as identified by the Alzheimer's Association Connecticut chapter, Connecticut Assisted Living Association, and Institute for Senior Living Education. Our objectives for the Purple Flag program are to achieve a higher quality of life for persons with dementia and shall be accomplished through enhanced staff education in dementia and dementia care, demonstration of a commitment to best practices, self-attestation to statements of quality as recommended by the 2018 Alzheimer's Association Dementia Care Practice Recommendations. The value of participating as a leader in dementia care is as follows. For the individual living with dementia, they are assured care and services will be delivered according to best practices and provided individualized opportunities for meaningful engagement. For the consumer, they are provided the confidence in selection of a provider of care. And there are criteria for an informed decision, very important for consumers. For employees, they are provided the opportunity for professional growth through education and development. And participation with Purple Flag promotes successful interaction both with the person living with dementia and the rest of the care team. For the provider, they're demonstrating the organization's commitment to leadership in dementia care. And they're able to impact positive recruitment and retention of healthcare professionals and caregivers. Very, very, very important piece. The structure of the Purple Flag organization is comprised of 3 component parts: the Audit and Review Committee, the Credentialing Committee, and lastly, the Governance Committee. So I think that gives you sort of a quick foundation about what the Purple Flag program is all about. And at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Betty Brennan, who will go through other aspects of our wonderful program. Betty?
Thank you, Chris. And as Chris described, the Purple Flag program was truly developed to enhance the quality of services provided to individuals living with Alzheimer's and other dementias that live in long-term care facilities, assisted living communities, or are being served by home health or hospice. Chris described the mission and goals, and I'm going to provide an overview of the accreditation program. I want to start with a brief story that I think summarizes why this accreditation is important to persons living with dementia, their families, and your team. I was visiting an assisted living community several years ago, and I happened to overhear a young man talking to another family member, it was obvious it was a family member by the way the discussion was going, and they were discussing selection of a community for their mother. He told the person on the other end of the phone that he had been to 4 communities. They were all beautiful. They had friendly staff, very warm, but he really did not know how to evaluate the quality of care that was being offered. I'm sure that many of you have observed that quandary when families are facing such a serious decision. For this particular adult child, if there had been a display of a purple flag, an accreditation certificate, and an explanation of what that facility had to achieve to receive that purple flag, I'm sure that some of the anxiety about placement would be reduced. Being an accredited dementia community provides more assurance to all involved, including the residents, the families, and your staff, because there's a commitment at being the best. There's more work that's involved at being the best. But why accreditation for something like dementia? This is not an accreditation program like the Joint Commission or some of the other programs that are out there, as that accredits a whole institution. We're not looking at the whole institution. We're looking at the caregivers and the care that's provided to a specific population, that population that has a limited voice, and those are the persons living with dementia. The Purple Flag program is based upon providing more education than is required under licensure. In fact, for memory care units, it's 12 hours. And there's a demonstration of conformance to 60 best practice recommendations that originated from the Alzheimer's Association. Best practices for dementia, as many of you probably know, was not well defined. Many of us who have been involved with care have just been not aware of what we needed to do to define best care. However, in April of 2018, the Journal of Gerontology dedicated the entire issue to findings of clinicians around the nation. The formation of best practices allowed the Alzheimer's Association to be able to publish a list of 56 best practice standards. And then in the work that Purple Flag did, we added 4 more that we felt were relevant to care. All of the best practice recommendations we have established as standards of care really speak to person-centered care. And I know in all of your facilities, you are focused on doing that. But this is in a way that examines all the facets of the person-centered care model. As an example, 60 practices, but 6 of them are specifically focused on person-centered care, like knowing the person with dementia, recognizing the person's reality, supporting ongoing communication, providing a review of care programs, making appropriate changes, building meaningful relationships. These are 6 of the 60. However, the other 54, while I'm not going to go into any detail on any of these, really focus on things like detection and diagnosis, assessment, care planning, medical management, staffing, and creating and maintaining a therapeutic environment and transitions in care. Now, if you're watching this and you're thinking, this seems like a really good program, but I really am pretty overwhelmed. I have a very busy facility and we do the best of care. You're thinking this is really daunting. However, we've put some assistance in place to make this doable for all of you, and that we created a Purple Flag workbook that identifies all the materials that you would need to put together to fulfill the requirements of the standards. In most cases, the policies and procedures of the community are most likely already in place. Although some of the best practice recommendations are state-of-the-art standards, and they may require the development of a new policy and training needed to meet it. Let me give you an example. I know that all of you consider pain the 5th vital sign, and that most of you have very comprehensive policies and procedures regarding the evaluation of pain at the time of admission, or if an event occurs where the person indicates that they have pain. One of the requirements in a best practice standard for pain management is that pain would be evaluated perhaps on a daily basis, or perhaps even a shift basis. It's not when an event occurs, but it's a consistency at looking at some of the critical points of care of a person living with dementia. The Purple Flag accreditation process is a desktop audit. It's conducted by well-trained reviewers who have been trained in the best practice standards, and they carefully read all of the documentation submitted. A thorough submission by the community will include several hundred pages of documentation. I'll just tell you that up front. Some of you will be pretty overwhelmed at what you're submitting, but we need all of that documentation. Some of it, in terms of how it applies to one standard versus another, will end up seeming like it's a duplicate. If all is complete, the summary is sent to the credentialing committee for issuance of the Purple Flag. If there are minimal items missing, a list will be sent to the applicant allowing resubmission of those items. Our hope is that assisted living communities will consider the value that is intended with the Purple Flag program and the accreditation process, and join others that have already received their Purple Flag or are about to receive their Purple Flag, so you too can be one of the assisted living facilities in Connecticut flying the Purple Flag of excellence. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Lisa.
Thank you, Betty. I'm Lisa Clark. I am the Vice President and Administrator at McLean in Simsbury, Connecticut. And we went through the process of submitting for the Purple Flag certification. And I thought it would be really important to share what the process was like from our standpoint. It really helped our team of leaders take a deep look at what those standards of care were and really dive deep into our policies, as Betty mentioned. I think the thing that you don't realize is every single one of your policies is developed to provide the best care for the residents and give your staff good guidance. But looking at these best practice standards, we were able to truly incorporate all of those elements into our policies. The Purple Flags standards also really asked really great open-ended questions. Are you showing these policies through your collateral, through your marketing materials, through any of your communications with your family or your staff? I found that to be so helpful to truly take a look at the whole and make sure that we had dementia and the best practices for dementia top of mind. The submission process was one that did take us quite a bit of time. We very thoroughly looked through all of that material and were able to compile it into a notebook based on the standards. So it kept it very organized for us. And I know it was incredibly helpful once we submitted it to have that dialogue with the credentialing committee from the Purple Flag team. They asked us some really good questions, asked us to really dive deeper into understanding what we meant, what the intent was of the standard and how we were implementing it into practice. Because everyone has a different idea of what that could look like. And it was a great dialogue to really raise us up and have us look at things in a better way. I know from the education standpoint, it was amazing to think about what we had offered at McLean for education to our staff and our families, and where we could improve through looking at these standards of care and going through the certification process. We offer 12 hours per staff person every year with a focus on dementia, and dementia in so many different aspects that I know our director of education really has been so creative to find different topics like transitions of care for someone with dementia. Betty mentioned pain, which is another great example. And we're really finding more granular educational materials because of the wide variety of topics. And I know firsthand that our staff have said, wow, I really learned a lot from that education that you provided us on dementia. So I know it's having a huge impact. We've also started education to our families and those that aren't part of our community yet, opening it up to the broader public because of our goal to really be all comprehensive. And the Purple Flag program helped us to see opportunities that we needed to do more of that and be more consistent and regular. So with that process, we were able to get certified. We have a beautiful purple flag hanging in our lobby. We had some wonderful celebrations around being able to achieve this accomplishment of certification. And that was almost a full year ago that we submitted all of our paperwork, and it took a little longer to actually get certified because we had that back and forth dialogue, which really helped us to improve. And a year later, we absolutely can see the difference in our team. Our staff members talk about dementia care in a different way than they did before because everything is in sync. Our policies, our marketing materials, everything we look at has an element of dementia care and the best practices for dementia care in it. I know our families have given us great feedback on the educational options that we've offered them. And during this time where we're using Zoom meetings and other non-present meetings, more virtual, it's gone incredibly well to offer these educational opportunities in that way. I truly can say that from a resident standpoint, I feel a difference. Our neighborhoods, which is the units that people live on at McLean, are calmer. I feel that our staff are creative when they see that somebody is struggling to express themselves, something's not going right for them in their day, and our staff huddles together and they talk about solutions. And I think they realize that these best practices are that. They're best practices. There's tools out there. We're not alone in this, and we're learning every day how to be better at it. And every individual is different. Every resident we serve, every family member we serve, and every employee that is trying to implement this best practice is different. And I feel that it supports us to keep going back to those best practices so we truly know that we have a guide. Our goal at McLean is to continue the certification to other elements of our program. We have a home care and hospice agency, and we have a long-term care facility in addition to our assisted living. And we are expanding the education to all of those service lines. Even though we're not yet certified for each of them, we're getting ready to do that. And I know from the standpoint of folks that move through the continuum of care at different levels of where their needs are and where their needs will be met, that we'll be able to serve them well. And I'm really proud to hang the purple flag and know that we have great support from the team that has initiated this and reviews it, as well as CALA. And I thank you for letting me come and join you today to share our story.